Welcome to the podcast, Badass Mother Hustler, where the grit, stress, and the beauty of motherhood and entrepreneurship meet. We'll share the realities and stories of what it takes to make it all work and still be a badass mother. Now here's your host, Maddie Yaka.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I took a little bit of a break. As you know, I had my third child. This is our first episode back for this season. I'm so excited. I can't wait to just talk about all things motherhood because that's not easy. And building a business is not easy. And when you put those things together, it is just crazy. So today I want to introduce you all to Jackie Cope. She is a badass mother hustler of 3 kids. She's the owner of RavenRabbit LLC, and every entrepreneur mother has a story, and we can't wait to hear yours. So thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Woohoo! So why don't you tell everyone where you're located and what you're up to today?
I'm in Southern California, I'm in between Temecula and Palm Springs up on the mountain. So it's a little bit cooler up here than Palm Springs. And today I'm at home. I work from home. This is my office behind me. I'm upstairs in the upstairs living room situation and just working on my business. I've been writing proposals this week and also mothering my children.
Just doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did your business come about? Like, does entrepreneurship run in your family, or is it like, how did it start?
When I was really young, I wanted to own a bakery. That's what I would tell my dad. I'm going to go to business school. I'm going to own a bakery. I went to business school kind of against his wishes. He wanted me to be a teacher. And I was like, no, I don't want to teach. Why would I go to school my whole life just to go work at one forever? And went to San Diego State University, business management and entrepreneurship. And it wasn't something I ever saw modeled to me. I heard that my uncle, he did have a business, but that was way before I was born, and he had sold it and moved on and started to work for a company. So it's not something that was ever modeled to me. And I loved business school, but it scared me very much. I took business finance and was like, I don't know about this. Then I took business law and I was like, no, I can't do this. This sounds crazy. And I started working at the daycare on campus and I loved being with the kids. I was like, maybe my dad was right. Maybe I should be a teacher. And that's what I went and did, but it always just came back up. I was always finding ways. Like once I became a teacher, I was making my own worksheets. Education, you're a teacher. We went to Common Core. There was no resources. And I was like, I'm going to make them. And I started selling them on Teachers Pay Teachers. And I was doing really well with that. And I was like, I really enjoy this. And I think I want to look at my doctorates in curriculum and instruction because I don't think I want to be a principal so much. I really love writing curriculum. And I pursued that and I started writing. So it all started with writing and teaching. That's where a lot of it started from.
You've always been a hustler. You just didn't know. You're teaching and doing the stuff on the side. And so
Yeah.
how did you get out of teaching and into your own business?
So while I was teaching, I finally finished my doctorates and I started doing some stuff that I love doing. I went and got my yoga certificate. I went to the University of Metaphysics and became a reverend. And I opened up a yoga studio in town. So I would teach during the day and at nighttime I would go teach yoga at my studio. So it was like my first official like business front. We had done prior to that just going to craft fairs and selling some of my craft stuff, nothing major, just kind of dipping our toes. And I was like, that's fun, but it's going to craft fairs is a lot of work. It's very hard. And so I got that business storefront. That was in 21. I had that and I enjoyed it. I'm like, let me just sign the lease for a year and see how it goes. And I stepped away from teaching at that point too the next year. And I went into director of education for the local Indian tribe up here. And I really liked it. And I started playing around online. Like at lunch break, I'd be looking at, I could be doing this other places, like not just for the tribe. I have a doctorate in education. I could be doing this elsewhere too. And I found sam.gov and I started doing federal contracting work. I started finding contracts and started applying and I didn't get a few. That's how it goes. And then I finally got one last year. So that took a few years of learning how to apply for a contract, learning how to get into the system, and then finally winning my first award.
Your first award?
Yeah, they award it to you.
Oh, okay, okay.
You know, you have
Like,
to win the contract, yeah, and it'll say like award and you're the price. So you have to bid.
how did you get involved with the Are you or
Yes. Oh, it cut out a little bit. Yeah, I'm Washoe from Lake Tahoe area, and so Native education has always been something that was very important to me. When I was a teacher, I ran the Native American Club on campus, so I'd have the kids come to my class, and we would do specific lessons. Either they requested it, or I would just dive in on topics I thought were important for them to learn. And my mom is also a teacher. We worked at a K through 12. I worked on the elementary side, she worked on the high school, so she ran the high school side. And then I also did Title VII Indian Parent Committee and was doing that a lot too.
are there a lot of Indian schools out west or in your area? Because there's not any where I am. I'm in Pennsylvania, at least not that
Yes.
I'm aware of.
The East Coast, that would make sense because of assimilation and the Trail of Tears. So what happened with the East Coast in our history is we rounded all of the natives up, and most of them are in Oklahoma who would call the East Coast like their native lands. So a lot of the Bureau schools are Midwest, and they call them West still because like Arizona and stuff. But when we get to California, there's only two they're called Bureau controlled schools. One of them is Sherman Indian, very close to where I live. That's where my cousin went to school. And then we have another one up north I'm not familiar with. But there's also tribally controlled schools. So around me, certain tribes have their own schooling. There is about 4 really close to me within an hour.
How many kids are in the school roughly?
Where I go to do my contract work, there is, I think they said 140, 180, and it's a K through 8. So one teacher per grade.
Now, have you watched 1923, the spinoff of Yellowstone?
Who my husband has. I have not. I watched the first few episodes and I was like, this is so brutal.
Okay, because they show an Indian school.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I started
I
watching.
didn't make it that far.
Yeah, so I would just wanted your take on that, but I guess you're going to have to like sit and watch it and then we can discuss. But
Oh, we could talk about boarding school though. Boarding schools.
that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was like,
Yes.
I said to my husband, oh my God, is this what it was like? Like it was
Yes.
horrible.
Yes. Yeah, and a lot of people are very unaware of boarding school. So what happened was it was put into law that to round up natives, their kids, and to ship them off into boarding schools. And this happened for hundreds of years. And it didn't stop until, oh gosh, really late, like you would be shocked, where they finally shut it down and were like, we're not stealing children from the home anymore. And then, oh yeah, its assimilation was crazy. And my family was deeply affected by that too. So by Lake Tahoe, which is it's between Nevada and California in the most people know where Lake Tahoe is. It was Stewart Indian School that was the boarding school that my family was shipped to. So my grandma gave me her diary and it has terrible things of like a lot of fear where the white men were coming in their carriages and their horses and they were rounding up her siblings and taking them to Stewart Indian School. She would hide. My grandma and her brother, they were the youngest, ended up not going to boarding school. They just missed the cutoff.
Oh.
She was born in the 1930s. And so by the 1940s, they were like, it's just because it's different in every state and every location.
Yeah.
By the 1940s, they were like, oh, we're not going to do boarding school anymore. Let's assimilate. So my mom and her brother went to Douglas High School, which was just Douglas County, but they were the first natives to go. So it was very difficult for my grandma. My uncle had a great time. Like we go to the museum and there used to be pictures of him wrestling and he was like all-American football star wrestling. He loved it. My grandma, on the other hand, had a terrible time. She very much disliked it and the segregation was very difficult for her. And that was in the 40s.
So why do you think that your uncle had a good time but your grandma didn't? Do you think girls are just horrible to girls and it's easier for boys?
I think the girl thing was harder because at sports, he had a place to prove himself and he was then respected because it's like, oh, they won and they were playing on a team. And my uncle too was just a very lighthearted person. He was always just so happy and easygoing that negative things didn't affect him so hard. Whereas my grandma, she always was more towards the depressed side and things really just were much more difficult for her. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, your family history, did that help? Did that push you towards starting your business? I mean, it seems like you've incorporated your history into your business.
Yeah, I think it all goes together because working with the native kids up here, I saw like all of my grandma's stories and stuff. There's 3 tribes right next to where I used to teach at the public school, and they just remind me of my cousins and my family. And I just felt it was something I had to do. I had to work with them, do this club, be around them, and serve them because of everything that I heard. And it really shaped because I didn't go to business school. I went there thinking I'm going to own a bakery, something very innocent, very simple. And it just morphed over time of the important work that I do now. And once I did start working for the local tribe, I was like, this is where it needs to go. And this is what I actually need to do. And so it just makes sense and for me, and I love it. And when I go out to the boarding school where I talk to you on the phone, like I just feel so at home. I'm on the Navajo Nation there. So totally different tribe, different everything, but also just feeling so comfortable and at home too at the same time. And I don't think that's something my grandma had growing up in that very tumultuous time of boarding school.
Isn't it crazy where life brings you that you can't even imagine? Like I
Mm-hmm.
thought, and we talked about this on the phone, that I was always going to be a teacher forever. Oh, I have the summers
Mm-hmm.
off and then I'll retire an old lady and be done
Yep.
forever and I'm going to teach forever. And that was like 5 years because COVID just threw things up in the air. And here I am. I'm a realtor. I never thought I'd be a realtor. I have a
Mm-hmm.
podcast. I never thought I'd do that. Like crazy where life brings you.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was same thing. I taught kindergarten where I taught, and I took the place of a teacher who had been there for 35 years. And I thought, I have Mr. Davies' room now. I'm never leaving. I'm going to stay here like he did forever.
Yeah. And I mean, the turnover for teachers now is insane. I just, that could be a whole nother episode. But so your
Yeah.
business you had sent to me is a spiritually rooted brand. You wrote that blends indigenous wisdom, metaphysics, and modern self help. Can you tell us a little
Mhm.
bit about that?
Yeah, so my business, I've kind of put it all together. I'm like, I'm not separating. I'm going to do all of the things I love, which are education and spirituality. And so the spirituality is integrated within my education. I try not to go too hard, but on the back end for me, like the way I work, how I approach my work, it all comes from a very spiritual place. And I chose metaphysics to study because our native ways of being were so prosecuted, and we weren't allowed to practice our spirituality until the 1970s. So it was finally passed in the 1970s, like the Native American Religious Freedom Act. And so a lot of stuff was lost. And my grandma and her family, like they didn't practice it. You kept that all hidden. A lot of it was lost. Also just hidden out of fear. So I see that more with the Navajo people. Like they all know it. They at least shared it and it went somewhere, but they won't talk about it very much outside of the family. And so
Are,
choosing
are you
sorry,
talking about like rituals, day to day stuff?
both of it. So a lot of it was day to day. Rituals were just built into the day. That's how you went about. So an example for my tribe is hunting. So hunting had to happen often because you have to eat, but there were certain things you needed to do before you hunted. They didn't take up much time. They were just many small things that you need to do. There was a certain way you process the animals. For like deer, you had to take the eyes and bury them. Like there was just little things you had to do, but it was viewed as like, I don't know, satanic, I guess, but it was viewed as religious, so it was not allowed to happen. So a lot of those, just the way of doing everything was deemed as that was religious. You can't do that.
Which is weird because
Yeah,
like isn't the whole country religious? Like so why would they
but Christian.
picking on one religion? Like
It didn't fit the Christian norm.
yeah.
Yeah, because it was founded for, like, you think about leaving the king, it was about they wanted to still be Christian and practice in their own ways, but it was still Christianity. So it wasn't like huge religious freedom,
Yeah.
just enough to where they could read the Bible as opposed to not being allowed to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all integrated into my business the way I approach things. And so I try to the way I do business is not always the same as like what you would get. And going after some of these federal contracts, I'm like, I'm totally writing this so different. Like they're gonna look at me and either think she's crazy or let's have her because this will be great. So right now, this week I told you I was working on it. It's for the DoD education system. So like the schools on our military bases. So
Okay.
I'm like, it is very prescribed. Like you imagine the military, it needs to be a certain way, but I know the way I do things are just so different. So we'll see where that goes.
So can you give us example of what is different about what you do versus maybe someone else that's applying for the contract?
Yeah, so a lot of stuff on the background. When I got this contract, I'm very much into human design. I did the human design. Are you familiar with human design?
I was going to ask that next.
Okay. So it's human design is beyond astrology. It's some man, he meditated, he got this whole message and it like combines everything. Astrology, the planets, the chakras, like all of these different genres are blended into one that gives you your unique design. Like the way that you are is because of the time you were born and where you were born. And so I have mine and um it really is just spot on. Like kind of when you read your sign, you're like, oh yeah, I do those things. This gets even deeper than that. So I read the design of the school. So when the school was built, what was it meant to be? And so I used that information to then help me make teacher PDs because I learned on there the human design of that school I work for is they want to come to it themselves. They want to be creators, they're generators. They want to make it themselves. So if somebody's going to come in and say, you have to do it this way, and this is the way we're going to do it, you're going to be like, they're going to reject that. They're going to want nothing to do with that. And so I've been using their human design, they don't know that, to build my professional developments. And it's been working very well. So it's a reframing of how I'm teaching.
Would you
And
say that when you go in and you are teaching the teachers that they're open to it, or are some of them the feedback's like, what the heck?
they're very open. And you've been in school. Was it public school you were in?
It was a public charter, so yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So, teachers, they could be like, oh, another thing. They don't want to. So you would multiply that more because then I'm going into a bureau school. So you're dealing with federal teachers. So it's like even more of that. Oh, we don't need this. Why are we doing this? They're very receptive. Like, and I was scared too, like coming in. I'm white presenting. And so I know they view it as like, oh, what's this white girl gonna come share with us? Like all the other white contractors we get. But then once they heard I was native and how I wanted to approach the work, they've been very like receptive. And I know it's working because they will raise their hand and they will call me over, which in native culture, you're usually very quiet. Just be quiet, it'll be over, and we can move on with our lives. But they're always like, help me, come look at this. I'm working on this. I give them a lot of time to also just work on their lesson plans and work on what they need to do versus talking at them because that's not going to accomplish anything with their human design. Let them do it themselves. And so I know since they're calling on me for help, something's working.
yes, I like that you allow them to work while you're there because, I mean, being a teacher, I was in that position where it's just being spoken to for hours on end. So it's nice that
Hmm.
they work and then they can ask you questions while they're implementing what you've just taught them.
Yeah.
Now, you had brought up that you started your business during one of the hardest seasons of your life, and it sounds like there was a lot going on there. Do you want to clue the listeners in?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So last year, 2024, um, I was pregnant. I got pregnant in 23 with our second child, and um, I was very sick, so sick all the time. Like, I just thought, man, this pregnancy must just be not working out for me. I was constantly dizzy, not feeling quite right, headache, and that I got pregnant in October. Um, my mom's like, it's just the first trimester. It's going to get better. Just hold on. And then February came around, and I'm like, okay, this should be over. And it's not. Like, I feel absolutely terrible. It was President's Weekend, and we went to go camping like we always do. And we go rock hounding. And we couldn't do anything. So then I thought maybe we were all sick because we took naps. We barely cooked food on that trip. We were just exhausted.
Yeah.
So I think some of my whatever I was carrying, like my husband was also feeling and my son. And by the time March came around from there, I was like, I have to go to the hospital. I couldn't stand. I had wet myself in bed. I couldn't make it to the bathroom, which was right next to my bedroom. And I thought I was miscarrying. I thought, this is it. Like, this has to be what's going on. My body is like rejecting because I think possibly he's not alive. And went to the doctors, the emergency room. Everything was fine with the baby. Baby was great. They're like, do you want to go home or do you want to go back to the ER? And I was like, I can't go home like this. Like, I can't even go to the bathroom. Nothing. We
What's
have to
wrong
figure
with
out what's
me?
wrong. Yeah. So I went back to the ER and I told him the main thing was the headache. It was blaring. And he's like, well, this is not normal, but we could give you a CAT scan if you're okay with that. And I said, yes, let's do that. We did it. And he found a tumor at the back of my head, the size of a golf ball. And it was pushing on my cerebellum. So that's why I was feeling all of the
Wow.
nauseous and the falling and like nothing working right because it was pushing on all those nerves.
Yeah.
And so that was Sunday. He found it on Sunday. My mom and husband had to fight really hard to get me somewhere because no one would take me. I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Because
And
you were pregnant, they wouldn't take you?
yeah, it was too much of a risk. I was 22 weeks pregnant and needed this brain tumor removed. So none of the doctors were like wanting to deal with it
But what
when
was
they
the risk?
put it out.
I know someone that like had chemotherapy when they
Oh,
were
wow.
pregnant. Yeah, and it didn't seem like the doctors said we need to do this. It wasn't, from what I know, it wasn't trying to find someone. So you had something.
They didn't want to deal. So it got pushed out. My husband's like, I want you to push out to all the UCs, all the colleges, because they most likely will. And they did. And UCLA came back and was like, we'll take her. Like that neurologist, he called me on the phone while I was there. He's like, I want you. I'm going to take care of you. You're coming here. And I was like, perfect. I got there Monday night and I had surgery Wednesday morning. And
Wow.
yeah, it was crazy. It was a whirlwind. And then they sent me home Saturday. So like within 1 week, we had been through just like chaos.
Yes. Yes. Wow. And
Hmm.
your business was still like, did you
I
put it
was
on hold? Did you have someone pick up slack for you? What was that like?
That was in 24. So that's when I told you I was trying to figure out the contracts and how it all worked and so I was still like formulating, even though my business had been formed. I wasn't, I had just finished, closed the yoga studio because I was pregnant. I was like, I can't do this pregnant. And thank God I didn't. I'm so grateful because I was so sick. And so yeah, my business was put on the back burner, definitely, because it was mainly about my health because I was also working for the tribe at that time. So thankfully I was just I didn't have to worry about a class. I was just taking care of me and the baby.
What was your spiritual journey like during recovery?
When I went, old me before I became very spiritual would have been freaking out. I would have thought that was the most terrible thing, but I tried to stay really calm. I mostly slept a lot because I was like, I need to stay calm. I can't freak out. Everything that you feel, the baby's going to feel. So it was like a totally different perspective. And I had gone through Reiki prior to this happening, a Reiki training, and I started using that Reiki training to send like distance healing through time. Like I'm going to send it to the emergency room. I'm going to send it to all the doctors who are working on me, that they're rested and they're ready to do this work. My surgery was 12 hours. So like that's a long time to be working. So I was
So
like,
do you just think about it and it's like sending good vibes?
yeah,
Yeah.
Reiki is very powerful. It doesn't have to align to the time. And
Well, I mean, they've come out in the past couple of years saying that positive affirmations are so
mhm.
important and can really help a person. Like if you come up with something and want to speak it in front of the mirror to yourself every day, that is very life changing.
Yes, yeah, and that makes me think of, if you've read Joe Dispenza, he
No.
gets into that. He's a great one to read. He had like a major accident and he wasn't going to be able to walk, all of these things, but he started with his mind, just laying there because he wasn't able to do anything, healing cell by cell. And so I was doing those things too, like everything's going to go right. What's going to be removed will be removed. They won't hit anything else. Like I'm going to send healing energy to me and I can stay calm and to the baby. And after surgery, I was sitting in my room and I could feel like this presence of a woman sitting at the end of my bed who just, I felt like was giving me more Reiki and more energy healing. And I was on very limited drugs being pregnant. So I know I wasn't just like whacked out. Like I wasn't allowed to take a lot because of the baby. So
Do you uh feel spirits or do you just feel different types of waves or do you feel nothing?
I feel and I see. So those are different types of clairs. So I'm very visual. So I'll see things in the physical right here, right now when they show themselves. But a lot of it is feeling for me. I could feel the energy shift. I could feel it like inside of my gut. And sometimes in my head, there's like a knowing or like a talking. So it's like clear audio and I'll hear them say something to me. When I was young, this used to just make me crazy. I
So
like
I was going to ask that.
hated it.
To say, do you think this is something someone is born with or something that you like learn?
It's both. Everybody has it. Everyone has the ability for the psychic powers, all of the different types of clairs. We are all spiritual beings and have that within us. But I think coming down through your lineage and stuff, it might be like more where it feels like you're born there. Like being native, everything I heard from my grandma and my mom and my elders is like it's always there. Like I was definitely born into a lot of that stuff. A lot of it was taught to me though was to ignore it because that's how my family was unfortunately raised. So I tried to ignore a lot of it. By my mid 20s, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Well,
It's
ignore
too
it like
much.
what? Were you feeling
Tell it
something
to
or
go away.
something and like you told your mom or your father and they were like, whatever.
Ignore it in the sense of I would see them like, oh, I saw that guy again. I see this black shadow in my room at my doorway all the time. He was a very scary presence. My mom would say, tell him to go away. He can't be here. He's not accepted here. So my mom and grandma knew. They weren't like, oh, you're making up stuff. They would be like, tell him he's not accepted here. He can't come here. Like, because there are dark sides like that. But then I was also blocking out all of the positives too. And I didn't like that as much. And so Reiki in my metaphysics program taught me how to bring in the light and bring in the good and also combat the dark, to set up protections around myself and make sure none of that can enter my field.
So it really helped you like unlock and go deeper into what was already in you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you said that was in your early 20s.
Mid 20s. Yeah.
Eh,
My first marriage, I'd been married before and they were very Christian and I was trying to be conformed into that and it was not working out for me.
Did you feel like a lot of turmoil in yourself during that time, I guess?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So was it during that period of time that you decided to try to, I guess, like listen to yourself?
It was my late 20s when I got divorced, and I was like, everything was coming to a head. I got divorced at 29, and that's when COVID was happening. So it was like a lot all at once. Like, we're all locked in our houses. Now my husband's gone. Like, what am I going to do? So I really went into the spiritual journey and trying to bring back those pieces to me at that time of my life.
How do you think being spiritual or tuning more into ourselves could help a mother entrepreneur?
In so many ways. Because, like you said, like it's so hard. Like it's crazy. You have so many things going on, and it just helps get me grounded and work on the things that are pertinent to right now. Because as a teacher, too, we go through the list. Like, I have this mountain of work to do. But like it's not sustainable. It's not healthy to think about all of those things. And instead I chunk my day into what can I actually accomplish today? What's realistic? And that goes into that self-love and self-hate that I was talking about. I was always such a perfectionist through my whole life up until I was 29, and like so hard on myself and just running the race. And that's why I got my doctorate so young. Like I just kept going to school. I was a teacher. I went to school. I was like, I have to do this before I have kids because there'll be no time. So just way overworking. And when I finally stopped and slowed down and like started listening to intuition, to universe, to God, it's like everything started becoming more easy. And even being thrown in with like a brain surgery, being pregnant, it wasn't like, it was hard, but I didn't go to my normal like freak out,
Like,
everything's falling apart, why me? None of that. It was like, this is just another layer. We're going to get through this, and it'll be very interesting to tell later in life.
so did that lead you to start your self-love course, the Oh, I Don't Hate Myself?
Yes. Yeah. So I was learning all these tools and tricks, and the metaphysics program, affirmations, and not just your run of the mill, like, I love myself, I'm rich, I am abundant. Like the way the metaphysics program does it was very like deliberate, very intentional. And I really started doing them because at beginning of doing them, it felt so foreign. It felt so weird to talk to myself in such a positive way. And it was like sad. It shouldn't be so weird to talk to yourself like that. We're teachers. I talk to my kids like that all the time and try to instill those really positive mindset. And I didn't have it for myself. And I was driving and I was listening to a podcast, and a Dr. Blaze came on and he started talking about self-hate. He was a psychologist who studied suicide in teens. And the thing that he kept seeing coming up was that these teens all would circle around the idea of hating themselves. And he realized in therapy, you never talk about that. You talk about like, why are you sad? What was the incident? It's very like incident based and emotional based, and you never get into the, well, I hate myself, I don't deserve this, and you start blaming yourself and then you loathe yourself. It gets into like self-disgust. And so he said he went to research self-hate because he thought, oh, there must be a ton of stuff on this. This is what all the kids are experiencing. He said he found 11 articles about it in the field. And like that's crazy to think. It's not very studied. And I was like, this is everything I experienced. I always thought I was depressed. I couldn't make sense of what was going on around me. And it was self-hate. Like he started saying, he gave me the words to finally articulate everything I had been feeling. And I was like, I know other people, other women have to be feeling this. And so that's why I made my course. And I was very intentional with how I made the affirmations, because I said, someone who is in this dark space is not going to show up week one and say, I love myself. Like, we're not just going to say, I love myself until hopefully one day it's true, because it's not going to happen. It starts off very small and very simple, where we start with, I allow new self-talk to enter my field. And that doesn't feel so scary to say. Like, okay, I can allow new self-talk to enter my field. Like, we can let that happen, and maybe the possibility of a new language. So that's where I start. And then eventually by the 12 weeks we get to the loving the self.
So in your business, people see what they get. You're really authentic. So why do you think that authenticity is, like you wrote, the brand in your brand is the secret sauce?
Um this one human design girl I love, she was talking about how online courses and like this by yourself paradigm isn't going to work anymore with the new wave coming through. She was talking that live experiences are going to be where it's at, because people want to be in the moment with each other. We're tired of doing things by ourselves. And I thought, like, that is just so true. That is exactly where we're going. Like, being yourself is what people want. We're tired of everything's perfect. That's why we probably like reality TV so much, even though we know part of it's fake. There's just the idea of getting into the glimpse of what's actually happening.
Let me see. So rounding out our conversation, I asked you, what are some key lessons you've learned as a mother and entrepreneur that you'd like to share with the audience? Because people love to hear this. And you said your
Mm-hmm.
energy is your brand. Heal your
Mm-hmm.
energy and your business will flourish. Can you go into a little bit more detail about that?
Yes. So, yeah, your energy is your brand. Like, how you're going at things is how it's going to be. Like, if we're always in, I have this to do, the list is this big, I have to do drop off, I have to do pickup, I have to clean the dishes, I have to do to this meeting. Like, that your energy is chaos, overworked, overwhelmed, and you're just going to keep attracting more of the same. So, what we put out is what we get. And so, if we start working on how we approach those things, like I get to, so I've been doing that a lot. I get to pay the bills. I also call them energy transfers. Like, I get to do this energy transfer. I
Which
get
is
to clean
such
this.
you're changing one word. Instead of I
Mm-hmm.
have to, you're
Mm-hmm.
like, I get to. I have the opportunity. Some
Yes.
people don't have the opportunity to pay their bills.
No.
Not that
And
not that people normally think of it as an opportunity, but I see what you're doing there. It's like the
mm-hmm.
positive.
Yes. And same thing, like cleaning the house. Like, oh, I have a house to clean. Like, that's a good thing. I have all these dishes because thankfully I have a whole bunch of dishes. And yeah, it's just that little shift. And so that's where the energy starts shifting. And then when you shift that, everything, you'll attract more of the same. So that's
Well,
really big to me.
yeah, they say, what you put out is what you attract. And
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I believe in that. Now, balancing motherhood and being an entrepreneur is not always smooth sailing. What has been stressful about managing both roles, do you think?
I think that goes to your question too a little bit. What I was going to add to that, what goes into this is asking for help. That's something that I really struggle with. And being able to balance is I live 2 miles from my mom. So asking my mom for help and also asking my husband for help, which I struggle with still because it's just, that's not how I was raised, is that I felt like I always had to do everything and get it done. And then you get those terrible society of, oh, if I don't do it, it won't be done right. If I don't do it, it won't get done. And so trying to reject those thoughts, and I've told myself it's done. So who cares how it's done? I don't need to know the whole process. And so asking for help has been one of the main things. And then allowing whatever help that does show up to just be grateful for it, as opposed to, that's not how I would have done it. That's not how I like it done, but it's done.
As you were learning to ask for help, would you kind of act a certain way? And then your husband would be like, do you need help right now? Like you hadn't done it, but he like knows you're acting a certain way. So he's like, can I help you do something? Was he kind of able to read you?
No, we're more upfront with each other. Um, we've been that way. I'm his third marriage. He is my second. And I told him we have to do things differently, obviously. So we need to be very upfront with each other. So I'll tell him, like, I'm really mad and I have to ask you for help. Like, are you ready to receive that? Like, can I give you my ask? And so we're more very open communication at this point. And I'll even tell him, like, I have to do this thing and I need to ask you for help and I don't want to ask you for help. And so then we'll have a conversation about it. So we're very more open.
That's awesome. So with it being your second marriage and his third, and you guys being so open, do you feel like you get in less fights?
I would say
Do you
yes
get
and
more?
no.
It's because you're open.
Yes and no. I say that the fights happen more often, but they're much smaller. They're not these big blowouts that you've been holding on to this thing for so long just to hold the peace, and then eventually it all blows up. That's how I would say my first marriage was. Because it just stay quiet. do what's been asked, and then eventually you explode because you can't handle it anymore. Now we have like these little outbursts of loss.
That's a valid point. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if divorce happens because people hold it in. I mean, one of the reasons
Mm-hmm.
because people hold it in, and then it's just huge blowouts, and then it's finally like, I don't want to
I
do these
can't.
blowouts anymore, so let's just be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I would say we bicker more a lot, which is something I always hated that my parents did. I hated that they bickered all the time because that's what it is. But if you're trying to find that, what I tell his daughter is, you see us fight a lot, and it's not so much fighting, it's bickering because we're trying to do something hard. Like what we're trying to accomplish, whatever it might be, if we're loading the trailer, if we're cleaning the house, like we're trying to accomplish a task that's not easy, and we're going to argue about how we want it to get done, and then it'll get done and everything will be fine. But then it's at least you're not doing the silent treatment and the cues. Like that's what I hated. I always wanted my ex-husband to like pick up on those things. He should have known. How could he have not seen? Or I said this little thing, he should have caught on. Like we don't do that. It's we'll just say what it is and then we'll fight about it and then we'll move on and we'll try better the next time. So also too, it's become less and less as well because we are being more open.
Yeah, so you know how to read each other
Mm-hmm.
more open.
Yeah.
So you had also mentioned one more lesson before we pivot to our open or to our rapid fire 5 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
You said to everyone, your kids are watching, show them that women can lead with love, rest, and power.
Mm-hmm. And I
That's
see that with
beautiful.
teaching too. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. My son, he's 4. He's so observant. He's autistic, and I could tell that sometimes he doesn't always communicate, but I know he's watching and he's learning because then we'll see him mimic behaviors. And it's like, oh gosh. He started saying, oh Jesus. And I'm like, oh, have I been saying that really? So like they're watching all the time. And we have to show them how we should show up, how we need to show up, and how you are capable of accomplishing whatever you want. That's what I want to show my son too, that being autistic, he's probably going to have to do things in a different way that aren't the typical ways of doing things, and that's okay. So now I'm showing him like through my business and working for myself, this isn't the typical way, but it's my way and it makes me happier. And he's going to have to model that too.
Yeah, and you're doing it, and just it's a different way, and you're doing it, and it is a great lesson for our kids to see.
Hmm.
Well, I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you. I feel like I'm down with the vibes, but I'm not super spiritual. So it was great to hear things from your point of view. We're going to turn over to the rapid fire 5 and 5 now. These are some fun questions about you.
Okay.
The first one is, what do you do to recharge, and how do you find time for yourself?
Oh, recharging outside and water. Yeah. I like to stay inside all the time. I become like a homebody, but I realize I need to go outside. I need to be like on our deck. And then water for me is a big one. So we go to the river. We're in Southern California. We're pretty close to the ocean. And we have a spa in the backyard. Even just taking a shower or a bath at night. After I get out of the water, I feel like a new person.
I thought you meant drinking water.
Oh, that too. Like I have a giant always, but I know the cups are all cool now. I have carried like a giant water bottle with me since I was in high school, like my whole life.
Good for you, because drinking a gallon of water a day is always my yearly goal. It's just too hard for me. I carry a giant one too. It's pink. No surprise.
That's funny.
What are you currently reading or listening to?
Oh, I have a giant stack of books that I'm always reading. So I have two sides. I have like my educational side because I always want to read my academic stuff. And then I have my fun side because I have to get out of the academic books and read something else. On the academic side, I've been reading neurolinguistics programming book, like a how-to, and I've been reading a human design book. And then for my fun book, I can't remember the name of it, but she's I guess you could say she's like a psychic or something. She dates a guy, and a little piece of paper will show up somewhere, like in her purse or in her shoe, and it'll say his name and like 3 months. So she
Oh,
gets this little like psychic hit of how long she's gonna date that guy or be with that guy. And now she's got a paper that has no time. So that's the story I'm
that
reading.
sounds like a good one. You'll have to
It
email that
sounds
to me.
really cute.
Funny because I do my books the same way you do. I'm like, these are my professional books, like let me learn
Hmm.
something, and these are my fun books that I can blow through in a few days.
That must be a teacher thing.
Seriously. From a business owner perspective, who is your role model?
Mm, there's so many. I think it goes in stages. When I was in college and business school, I read the owner, I can't remember his name, the owner of Starbucks, his book. And that one like really changed my perspective. The one story I remember from it was the Frappuccino. Do you know the Frappuccino story?
Oh,
So he was very mad. They did not like this happening, that this the barista created it. She had this one client who came in and said what he wanted. She's like, I could do that. And she blended ice and coffee and she made the Frappuccino. And it was so popular at that store. Everyone started ordering it. And corporate was not happy about it. But look what they could have missed out on. So finally, like that barista and that store convinced them, like, this is it. This is where drinks are going. Like we have to make the Frappuccino, and they integrated it at all the stores, and look what came of it. So like what I learned from that was business management is you have to listen to your people, the people that work for you, the people around you. Like everybody has good ideas, whether they're the CEO or the barista, like they all have good ideas. So that was one from when I was younger in business school that always stuck with me. Lately, I've been following the man who took over something about operations. I think maybe he's the coup of Chipotle. He has now, like, Chipotle, I guess, has been having lots of issues, and he is coming in and like turning it around. And I've been kind of watching his story. I listened to him on a podcast, and I've been very interested because they were in the kitchen making their salsa, and he's like, it's the best salsa in the world. But how come when I go to the store, he like will do his little market. He'll go around town. He'll have the Chipotle, he'll have salsa, and it's not the same. He's like, what's happening from the test kitchen to the real kitchen? And it took him a long time. And then he finally figured out what it was at the real kitchen, the test kitchen, they're using knives, hand chopping. And at the sites, they were doing that thing where you put the thing in, you chop it down, and you get all the little squares at once. And that was changing the way the tomatoes and the acidity like
wow.
meant to mesh together.
Yeah.
And so that's the one I've been following lately, is his story.
And what, like on the news or just on his
Podcast, and I read things, I'll Google stuff.
Yeah.
If I hear something interesting, I can't remember her name. She's very popular, something Myers, Elise Myers or something on TikTok.
Okay.
She talked about, I try to follow autistic people to learn about my son. She gave herself like this, I give myself an hour or 20 minutes a night to Google all the weird things I think so
Yeah.
I don't mess up my day.
That's
And
funny.
so
That's a good idea.
it is a good idea. So I'll write down all the weird things like, oh, I wonder about this. And then at the end of the day, I'll like do my silly searches.
Yeah, instead of sitting in bed scrolling, you're like, all right, I'm going to sit in bed and go through all the weird stuff I thought, and then I'm going to go to bed.
Yes, that's what I do. So that's when I do it.
What is the song that you blast the shit out of if entrepreneur mom life is too much for you that day?
I listen to Moonlight Scorpio. I remember you listen to her?
Yeah, one of her
Okay.
songs. I forget what it is. It came up on like my Amazon, and I was like, oh, I forget what it is, but I was like, I like this. It's like an affirmation
It
song.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I listened to her. I was like, I remember you asking this question to other people, and I'm like, I don't listen to typical like
That
I
is so
do.
funny. Ah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Moonlight Scorpio, and then the other one you will like, she's really affirmations, is Tony Jones.
oh,
She's just like, she'll just talk, but she has a beat to it. She's African American, so she just has this like whole vibe with it, and I just love it. And I just say it like if I'm feeling down or I'm feeling like out of funk, I'll play that type of stuff.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
will have to look her up because I don't normally listen to that type of music, but like I said, it had just popped up on my Amazon while I was getting ready one day. I'm like, yeah, I can get down with this.
Hmm.
Get the day started.
It is. It's such a positive way. Like if I'm driving somewhere, I'm like, I need to get in the right headspace. That's the type of music. Because if
Yeah,
you listen to, the angry come up music, like your rap or your rock, you start feeling that in you. And
back
I've
to energy.
always,
Yeah,
it goes back to energy. And I've always really disliked like headbanger, hard rock, like punk rock. And now that I'm older, I know why. It's that energy I feel. It's not so much what they're saying or the music, it's how it makes you feel.
yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. And here's my last question. What is some advice that you can give a struggling entrepreneur mom who might be ready to call it quits?
Tap into your intuition. Take time, slow down, meditate, and start connecting with like your inner self because the answer is inside of you. You know what to do. It's a matter of if we're going to listen to it or be influenced by the outside noise.
It's hard to listen to it, but
Hmm.
definitely should because it saves a lot of headache.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today's podcast. If listeners wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way that they could get in touch?
You can email me if you want, Jackie Cope at RavenRabbit.com. And I'm on the social medias, RavenRabbit LLC on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Those are all, you can reach out to me there as well. And I also have my own podcast, Raven Rabbit Wellness Studios. And you can listen to me there. If you don't want to reach out, you can just listen as well.
Where can people find that podcast?
It's on Spotify.
Okay, sweet.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And as always, I'm going to leave you all with a quote. No one is you, and that is your superpower. Until next episode, everyone.
Thank you for joining this episode of Badass Mother Hustler. If you loved this episode as much as we did, and it left you feeling inspired and empowered, give us a quick like and subscribe, and we'll invite you back to our next episode. And be sure to share us on your socials and visit our Instagram, Badass Mother Hustler Podcast. We'll see you next time.